Candidates for degrees, families and friends, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 102nd commencement of the University of Connecticut School of Law. My name is Paul Chill, and it is my privilege to serve as Chief Marshal today. I'm a longtime faculty member as well as a graduate of the law school. Indeed, 40 years ago today, I sat where you sit with the rest of the class of 1985 as we watched people ride by on trolleys and Model Ts. So, my soon-to-be fellow alumni, it is a special honor to be on this platform today to help mark this milestone in your lives and careers, to celebrate the dedication, perseverance, and hard work that got you here, and to thank and acknowledge the families and friends that helped you along the way and made it all possible. As Chief Marshal, it is my responsibility to ensure that we have an enjoyable, memorable, and last but not least, orderly ceremony. So before we begin, I have several housekeeping announcements and requests. First, as you probably already know, live captions of the ceremony and the fully electronic commencement program are available online via the QR codes posted around the tent. Second, per the order of the State Fire Marshal, please remain at your seat and clear of the aisles throughout the ceremony. We will have professionals taking photographs and videos of all the graduates as they process across the stage, and again at the side of the tent where a formal portrait will be taken. Bottom line, please resist any temptation to leave your seat to take a photo. Third, we have a designated smoking area to the rear of the tent and ask that you use that area if needed. Finally, if you have not already done so, please silence all electronic devices and spare yourself and your loved ones the indignity of hearing your special ringtone in the middle of the ceremony. Will the class of 2025 vocalist, Bridget Casey, please come to the podium? Will the audience please rise and join in singing the national anthem?
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Will the audience please be seated? Holy cow. We are graced by the presence of many distinguished guests this morning. I would like to introduce and welcome those seated with me on the platform. In the back row, from your left, are Ms. Nnenna, class of 2011, President of the University of Connecticut Law School Alumni Association. Mr. Thomas D. Ritter, class of 1977, a member of the University of Connecticut Board of Trustees. Ms. Joy Hamer, Yukon Law class of 2025, a student member of the University of Connecticut Board of Trustees. Mr. Sean Dunn, Yukon class of 2026, a student member of the University of Connecticut Board of Trustees. Mr. Robert L. Birmingham, Professor of Law and Mace Bearer. And Dr. Andrea Dennis Levine, a member of the University of Connecticut Board of Trustees. In the front row, from your left, Ms. Jessica Rubin, Associate Dean for Experiential Education, Clinical Professor of Law, and Law Marshal. Dr. Dan Schwartz, Vice Provost for Academic Operations of the University of Connecticut. Ms. Ebony S. Nelson, Dean of the University of Connecticut School of Law. The Honorable Arunan Arulampalam, Mayor of the City of Hartford. And Ms. Rachel Tim, Associate Clinical Professor of Law. It is now my honor to invite Dean Nelson to the podium for opening remarks.
Thank you, Professor Chill. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, come on, this is commencement. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Members of the Board of Trustees, Vice Provost Schwartz, Mayor Arulampalam, members of the judiciary, family members and friends both here and joining us online, on behalf of our students, staff, faculty, and alumni, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to the 102nd commencement of the University of Connecticut School of Law. I extend a heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2025 and a special welcome to a graduate of our Executive LLM in U.S. Law program in South Korea who traveled along with his family quite a journey to join us today. This is a momentous occasion as we celebrate the completion of your law degree program, and I'm so happy to be with you all on our beautiful campus on this special day. It is a day of celebration, not only for you graduates, but also for your parents, siblings, family members, spouses, partners, and friends. Please join me in thanking and applauding them for the support and encouragement they have provided to help you get to this moment. We also greatly appreciate our dedicated staff and faculty who have educated, guided, assisted, and encouraged you throughout your law school career. They have all invested in you, in your success, and in the success of this great law school. Please join me in thanking our exceptional faculty and staff. It's hard to find the words to fully express how proud I am of each of you and all that you have accomplished during your time here in law school. Since entering UConn Law, your class has helped countless members of our community, both inside and outside our institution. You have advocated for the protection of children, veterans, taxpayers, and tenants facing eviction, while helping medical patients with their legal needs. You have advanced the interests of justice in animal cruelty cases, while helping clients and entrepreneurs establish nonprofits and protect their innovations and intellectual property. As teaching and research assistants, journal editors, and student organization members, you have helped to educate your peers, advance knowledge on the most pressing legal issues of the day, and provide enlightening and fun programs by which you bring our community together. If someone were to ask me, what's the class of 2025's collective love language? I don't know why anyone would actually ask me that, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. I would say acts of service, due to the multitude of public service and pro bono projects in which you've participated, and the hundreds of hours you've spent volunteering with community organizations, from collected needed items for nonprofits that help individuals and families in Greater Hartford and beyond, to tutoring and mentoring local youth and inspiring them to believe that one day they too can attend and graduate from a magnificent law school such as ours. Your class embodies what it means to be a law school that is not simply situated in the community, but is truly of the community, and I thank you for that. Your legacy of service and impact will live on at UConn Law for years to come in the Linda Paul Leading Library that provides your classmates with free textbooks and study materials, and in the tens of thousands of dollars you raise to help support public interest fellowships for your fellow colleagues, for which they and the law school will forever be grateful. It is quite impressive that you have managed to accomplish all of this and so much more, including succeeding in your classes, of course, while working full or part-time jobs, taking care of children and loved ones, studying in a new language or a new country or both, overcoming numerous obstacles and supporting each other every step of the way. Your commitment to helping others, which is at the heart of our profession, is inspiring. And your remarkable class gives me hope for the future when I contemplate the challenges and threats facing the legal profession and our country and world today. With the knowledge and skills that you have acquired here at UConn Law, coupled with your steadfast dedication to the pursuit of justice for all, you are well prepared to address these challenges and threats and to solve the most difficult and complex problems of our time. You will be the voice for those whose voices have been silenced, ignored, or discounted. You will advise and lead businesses and governmental agencies that strengthen our communities and connections as global citizens. As you work to preserve the rule of law, which is the cornerstone of our democracy, and to protect human and civil rights both at home and abroad, I remind you that the law can be both a helpmate and a hindrance in those endeavors. As you have learned and witnessed during your time during law school, the law is a powerful tool by which to advance justice and to thwart it. As graduates of UConn Law and members of our noble profession, you are not only advocates of justice and the rule of law, but also guardians of both. So please guard them well. You are embarking on your legal career at an unprecedented and extraordinary time. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. expressed in his I Have a Dream speech in 1963, many of you may be feeling, and I quote, the fierce urgency of now, which can be both exhilarating and daunting. You may be wondering, am I ready? Can I really make a difference? Rest assured that the answer to both of those questions is a resounding yes. You are ready and you will make a difference. This is what you have been trained to do, and this is what you have already been doing during your time in law school. So be confident in the knowledge and abilities you have developed during your time with us, and carry that confidence with you into courtrooms as advocates and judges, into the worlds of business and government as counselors and policymakers, and to the front lines of the endless and endlessly rewarding battle for a more just and equitable world. You, the exceptional class of 2025, are the best of us. You have exemplified the values of compassion, empathy, civility, and understanding as you've supported your peers and colleagues during challenging and fraught times. The rich diversity of your cultures, experiences, and viewpoints have contributed to the excellence of this law school. And your leadership and advocacy have helped to bring and hold our community together. You have made one another better. You have made this law school better. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for choosing UConn Law to pursue your legal studies. It has been an honor to have each of you as part of our law school community, and I cannot thank you enough for all of the many ways in which you have enriched it. Congratulations, class of 2025. We look forward to seeing the great contributions you will make in the years ahead. Thank you. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce our featured speaker, the Honorable Arunan Arulampalam, Mayor of the City of Hartford. Sworn into office on January 1st, 2024, Mayor Arulampalam was born in Zimbabwe and is the son of Sri Lankan refugees. He made a home and eventually a family in Hartford soon after graduate school. Prior to being elected mayor, he served as the CEO of the Hartford Land Bank, where he developed a first-in-the-nation program to train Hartford residents to become local developers and tackle blight in Hartford. Mayor Arulampalam also served in Governor Ned Lamont's administration as Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection, where he fought for consumer rights and small businesses. Prior to serving as Deputy Commissioner, he practiced law in the downtown Hartford office of Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy, PC. Mayor Arulampalam also served on the board of the Hartford Public Library, the House of Bread, and on the Hartford Redevelopment Authority. He earned his BA in International Studies from Emory University and his JD from Quinnipiac University School of Law. As if being mayor doesn't keep him busy enough, he and his wife Liza are the proud parents of 5 beautiful children. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Arunan Arulampalam.
Well, thank you. Good morning to all of you. What an incredible day. First of all, Dean Nelson, who is completing her 5th academic year as Dean of the Law School. You've made such a tremendous impact. We're so thankful for your service. And to the trustees, to the faculty, to the staff of UConn Law School, this place is such a gem in the city of Hartford. We're so proud that this is right here in our capital city. Thank you for all that you do. Parents, family, friends, I know personally what a huge support network you are. And to the graduates, as you look around, as you take in this day, I hope you take a moment to just be grateful for all of the people, the community that have brought you here. I know how hard this journey is. And this is an exciting step, an exciting culmination, and a new step, but it took a lot of work to get to this point. And to all of you, congratulations. We are so proud of you. And for me, it is just such a privilege to get to share this special day with you. It's such an honor to be your commencement speaker. It is such an honor to be here. It is a particular honor to be on this stage because, as Dean Nelson mentioned, I am a graduate of Quinnipiac Law School, which is the third-ranked law school in Connecticut out of 3. And as some of you may have guessed, when I applied to law school, I got rejected from UConn. And and a family member of mine said, maybe this should be like your Michael Jordan speech, where you go out and roast the coach for cutting you from the team. And I can sense that some admissions person in the crowd is shifting nervously in their seat. I'm not going to do that for a number of reasons. I love this law school, and I love the people who come out of this law school. And also, every piece of my journey, my successes and my rejections are part of what brought me to this point. And I feel so blessed to be in this point. And as you go forward in your journeys, just remember, there will be great moments like this. There will be moments of great celebration, and there will be days that feel like rejection or pain or a movement backwards. And each of those days, if you keep your heart, if you keep your values, if you work hard, each of those days will lead you to the exact place where you're meant to be. My journey, and Dean Nelson mentioned this, it started thousands of miles away from here. My family are refugees from Sri Lanka. They grew up in Sri Lanka. There was a brutal and bloody civil war, and my parents both left when they were in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s, moved to England where they got married, and then to Zimbabwe because they couldn't stay there. And they had me. I was born in Zimbabwe, came here as a young child. And I reflect back on that journey a lot, especially in this role. My parents, through incredible sacrifice, through resilience and determination and grit, were able to build a foundation for my life. And every single one of the accomplishments that Dean Nelson read off is built on that base, on that foundation. And, I've had an incredible first 39 years of life and got elected last year as mayor of the City of Hartford. And it started in January of last year. And within 3 months, thank you, whoever that was out there. Within the first 3 weeks in January of last year, I got to go to my very first U.S. Conference of Mayors. It's every year, the mayors from all around the country gather in D.C., and I was just 3 weeks into the position. I was brand new. And while I was there, the White House had selected 6 of us who were new mayors, brand new mayors, many of them from much bigger cities than me, to build a relationship with, to meet with a number of the cabinet secretaries and build relationships with them. And I remember going to the White House. I'd never been to the White House before. On a cold day, it was snowing, and I had this coat on me. That was my grandfather's coat. My grandfather ended up in England, which, if you know anything about Sri Lanka, it is a tropical island nation where the weather rarely gets below 75 degrees, and moved to England, which is England, and after a few years, bought this coat that's very nice. He's a well-dressed man, and he passed away in 1996, and my grandmother held on to that coat, and when I started my first job, she gave it to me. And I thought about the fact that I was wearing my grandfather's coat, and in many ways, the legacy of my grandfather and my ancestors, as I walked into the West Wing of the White House to meet with these people that had only seen on TV up until that point. And we had a series of meetings, and I couldn't believe, it felt like this out-of-body experience. I couldn't believe that day was happening. And at the end of this, we got a surprise. We were each going to go meet the President of the United States. And I stood there, waiting to go into the Blue Room, under a portrait, the official White House portrait of Andrew Jackson, the slave-owning President of the United States, in one hand clutching my grandfather's coat that he'd carried with him to England, and the other hand ready to shake the hand of the most powerful man on earth. And in that moment, the emotion and the weight of that, the improbability of that journey that could literally happen no other country on earth, just hit me. And I got emotional. I'm not an emotional person, but I started to tear up, and looking like a blabbering fool, I went in to shake the hand of the president and started just talking, which you're probably not supposed to do. I said, Mr. President, this is such an honor. My grandfather, when he died in 1996, this was his coat, and when he died, he would have never imagined in a million years that his oldest grandson would be standing in the White House shaking the hand of the President of the United States. And, he said, hold on, you got to take this picture. And he was clearly moved. And he said, but hold on a second, just wait over there. So he kind of ushered me to the side and shook the hand of far more important mayors than me, the mayor of Chicago and Nashville and other big cities. And then he asked me to come back and to pull out my phone and to call my parents, who were flabbergasted when they picked up the phone and he said, hi, this is Joe Biden, the President of the United States. And he talked to him for a while. He talked about, retracing his roots to Ireland and conversations he had with President Obama. And, it struck me for two reasons. One, as a kid, as a son, and especially as an immigrant son, you so rarely are able to capture and tell your parents exactly what their journey has meant to you, how all of those sacrifices, those late nights, that hard work, how all of that led to this. And I didn't have to because the president told them. But it struck me for another reason. Here was this octogenarian Irish Catholic president of the United States, whatever you think about them, and it's not a story about Joe Biden, who saw my story, a kid less than half his age, an immigrant from Sri Lanka by way of Zimbabwe, and saw in it his own story, saw hope and optimism for the future. And whatever your politics are, whatever you think about politics, I think what we all know is that version of America where we look across a table and see ourselves in each other is starting to fade from the highest levels of power. And if we care about that America, then we need to carry that torch. We are the holders of that flame. And it's time that all of us start acting like it. And look, I know it can be hard. In many ways, we are fighting thousands of years of evolutionary DNA. We, as a people, lived thousands of years ago in tribal societies, in small, tight-knit groups. And for survival, it was important to have high levels of trust and cooperation between that group and high levels of mistrust of any threat that might come from outside that group. But today, in 2025, that is an appendage of evolution. It's something that holds us back. It is the least evolved part of our psyche. And so when we carry that fear into the world to people who are of a different race than us or worship a different God than us, when we allow it to fuel misunderstanding between genders or people who don't share our gender identity or sexual orientation, when we allow it to deepen our divisions based on class or socioeconomic status or political ideology, and that's true for Democrats and Republicans, we are playing to the most base form of our human emotion, our most Neanderthal reptilian brain, the least evolved part of ourselves. It's also just not true to our society because we know that we no longer live in many tribes. We are one tribe. And when we put out pain, that pain comes back to us. When we put out hurt, that hurt comes back to us. And if that wasn't clear to us in the past, it certainly should be right now. Dean Nelson referenced Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. In his final book in 1967, he put it this way: that mankind must choose between nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. That we have one choice to make, one final choice, between chaos and community. And that's what I want to leave you with today, that choice that we have, each and every one of us, between chaos and community. And the greatest question of this generation will be what we choose as a collective. And look, I'm the mayor of the capital city, a public official, and what is clear to me every day is the rising vitriol and hate in our public discourse. I feel it and see it every day. And I have a choice to make, because when people come to me, angry at me, and when you're mayor, no matter what you do, some portion of the population will hate you. When people come to me angry, I can either turn back that anger, turn back that hatred, and continue to ratchet up, And oftentimes, I'm embarrassed to admit that it is very easy to do that. Or I can look behind that anger and see that pain, see that brokenness, see that hurt, that mistrust because of decades of failed policy. See the pain that lies beneath that anger, the child, the hurt and frightened child inside the body of an adult lashing out. At our very worst, that is what we are as a humanity. Children who are scared inside the bodies of adults trying to throw pain out into the world to fill a void that we feel. But you, UConn Law class of 2025, you get to choose your destinies and our destinies. And you can be the very best of humanity. You can be the most powerful type of person, one who sows love in the midst of pain and brokenness and division, one who brings light into the midst of darkness, one who builds community in the midst of chaos. And collectively, that is our calling. And I know that you're graduating out into what feels like a dark and scary world in so many ways. But here's the thing about darkness. On the darkest of nights, the stars shine brightest. And you, UConn Law, class of 2025, and you, UConn Law class of 2025, are a constellation of stars bursting forth into a dark sky. You are the hope. You bring new promise and new hope to the future. The scriptures tell us that a light shouldn't be hidden under a bushel, but should be put on a lampstand to bring light to the whole house. You are our light. You are our stars. And each day as you go forward from here, wherever your journey takes you, wherever you go, shine your light bright, because this dark and dreary world needs it now more than ever before. Congratulations to you graduates. We can't wait to see where your stories take you.
Thank you, Mayor Arulampalam, for sharing your wisdom with us this morning and for your tireless and impactful leadership on behalf of our beloved City of Hartford, which the law school and many of us are fortunate to call home. We are grateful for and inspired by your words and your service. Thank you so much.
We will now begin the awarding of degrees, beginning with the Doctor of the Science of Law degree. As a reminder, members of the audience are requested to remain in their seats so that candidates are able to move freely in the aisles. Professional photos and videos are being taken of all of our graduates. We ask that you please hold your applause until the candidate for the Doctor of the Science of Law degree has received their diploma from Dean Nelson and Vice Provost Schwartz. Will Associate Dean Jessica Rubin come forward to the other podium? And will the Hooding Marshals, Professors Nadia Humber and Richard Wilson, please come stand to her left? Will Dean Nelson, Vice Provost Schwartz, and Trustee Hamer please stand to my left? Will the candidate for the degree of Doctor of the Science of Law, Pascaline Insea Asari Puku, please come forward? We will now award the Master of Laws degrees. Again, we ask that you please hold your applause until all of the candidates for the Master of Laws degree have received their diplomas. Please also note that there will be several more opportunities to applaud before the big moment today. So if you want to hold your most sustained and enthusiastic cheering until the end and preserve the feeling in your hands, I promise to let you know when we are there. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws please come forward as directed by the floor marshals?
Chansik Jun from South Korea. F. Michelle Cooper. Andrew Jacobs. Juan Manuel Klein from Germany. Oliver Kerwin Taylor from the United Kingdom. Johanna Jet Weber from Germany. Amarachi Anozi Obi from Nigeria. Stella Nacheva from Bulgaria. Kwok Tung Wong from Canada. Luis Salazar Munoz from Costa Rica. Taylor Jamie Spalding from France. Neil Petkovic. Daniel Augusto Delgado from Colombia. Rijo Matthew. Larry Reback. Diana Rendon from Mexico. Snow Zhao from China. Ksenia Krutos. Emily Lemche from Germany. Uraz Yildiz. Lena Westphal from Germany. Noah David C. from Germany. Hauke Karstens from Germany. Lois Nnenna Owunna. Bianca Souza Lima from Brazil. Monica Mantilla. Jonathan Merz from Germany. Davinder Panwar.
We will now award the Juris Doctor degrees. Again, we ask that you please hold your applause until all the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree have received their diplomas. And again, we still have a couple more steps before the big one. Will the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor please come forward as directed by the floor marshals?
William Sean Fallon. William Henry Butler. Bridget Casey. Bryce Cameron Ashford. Yanhire Nnenna Sierra-Lavale. Alex Davenport. Maya Abu Elias. Natalie Aquilero. Natalia Ahmed. Mariam Ahmed. Paul Durston Alderate. Tucker Alisi, being hooded by his father, John Alisi, of the class of 1998. Autumn Ames. Elizabeth Anderson. Tejasvi Ushok. William Bartnick, being hooded by his uncle, Douglas William Bartnick, of the class of 2003. Jonah Badiab. Catherine Bartol. Grace Burning. Serena Bargava. Renee Bingling. Leo Bullock. Sinead Brennan Gatica. Natalia Brito. Grace Victoria Brunner. Sophia Buchanan. John Buckley III, being hooded by his father, John F. Buckley, Jr., of the class of 1984, and his sister, Megan Buckley, of the class of 2022. Kira Helen Burnham. Matthew Stephen Burton. Natalie Casanova. Daniela Chuka. Nicole Elizabeth Coletto. Remington Elizabeth Coppertino. Robert Anthony Cohen. Megan Amber Costigan. Owen Curran. Sarah Dowling. Lindsay Dowdy. Spencer William Duke. Anya Eck. Thomas Fader. Sydney Fernandez. Emma Kate Foley. Drake Freeberg. Peter Friedrichs. Camille Freegon. Bryn Fury. Kevin Gatus. Aliana Gallo. Tony Ann Trishana Gale. Lindy Louise Gibbs. Connor Givens. Jessica Bailey Glowacki. Prasad Gosavi. James Hallahan. Kristen Hand. Michael Hattie. Jack Hayes. Christina Marie Hay-Bison. Sophia Holta. Anna Rollis Jansen. Farah Alexandra Jean. Caitlin Rose Jones. Peter Francis Jones. Olivia Christina Kaminsky. Olivia Coupel. Allison Carlisle Kirkpatrick. Alexis Klimachevsky. Casey Krieger. Hollyann Adidas Lau. Mackenzie Beth Lasher. Jillian Lexa. Jennifer Lee Logan. Katie Lombardi. Tanya Lowe. Kimberly Luciano. Joshua Paul Maddox. Samuel Armstrong Mahler. Teresa Maunula. Maura McCormick, being hooded by her cousin, Kathleen Shea Querfeld of the class of 1998. Tiffany McCormick. Mark McDonald. Brian McCoy. Shannon McSweeney. Alice Merville. Adelina Maria Michelli. Kimberly Meyer. Lauren Moran. Samantha Mortera. Anna Kate Muncy. Devin Rose Murphy. Rosario Naranjo Zarata. Tren Wen. Jennifer O'Brien. Bridget O'Neill. Jordan Orange. Alejandro Pargis. Thomas Daniel Pelletier. Lauren Ryan Pelsner. Stephen Pendergast. John Pendleton. Megan Ann Phillips. Colette Polizonis. Brianna Page Rawl. Owen Raymond. Shaquille Ricketts. William Roberts. Colin Rosadino, being hooded by his mother, Jennifer Zito, of the class of 1988. Brandon Jared Ross. John Rubino. Eliza Russell. Ian Somm. Serena Taylor Savage. Eleanor Schneider. Joshua Schneider. Avi Schwimmer. Antonio Frank Scarapa. Reina Salati. Ariel Dawn Sousa. Elizabeth Stankiewicz. Claire Sturmer, Jacqueline Stevens, Aisha Jenkins Stovall, Sabrina Olivia Strong, John Casey Sullivan, All Oak Tiware, Rachel Ann Thomas, Desiree Torres, Sebastian Torres, Basil Utter, Joe Vale, Samuel Vallis, Jordan Michael Vogt, Troy David Willis, Jessica Witkowski, Ichu Joe, Henry Zinn, one more. Joy Arnice Hamer.
It is a pleasure to announce that the following Juris Doctor candidates have participated in a dual degree program: Leo Bullock, Sydney Fernandez, John Pendleton, Megan Phillips, and Shaquille Ricketts. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of the Science of Law, Master of Laws, and the degree of Juris Doctor please rise? Dean Nelson and Law Marshal Rubin will now present the candidates, and we are still one step away.
Dean Nelson, I have the honor to present to you this candidate for the rank of Doctor of the Science of Law who has successfully completed the curriculum of the School of Law.
To you, who have demonstrated high achievement in legal science and give promise of original contribution to its development, I declare that you are entitled to the ancient rank of Doctor of the Science of Law with all the appropriate rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Dean Nelson, I have the honor to present to you these candidates for the rank of Master of Laws who have successfully completed the curriculum of the School of Law.
To you, who have made significant progress in learning and give promise of further achievement, I declare that you are entitled to the ancient rank of master with all the appropriate rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Dean Nelson, I have the honor to present to you these candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor who have successfully completed the curriculum of the School of Law.
To you, who have made significant progress in the study of law and give promise of achievement in the profession of law, I declare that you shall be entitled, in accordance with the procedures of the university, to the degree of Juris Doctor, with all the appropriate rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
I invite Vice Provost Schwartz to the podium to confer the degrees. And yes, my friends, this is in fact the big moment.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the University of Connecticut, and in accordance with the procedures and regulations of the university, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of the Science of Law, Master of Laws, or Juris Doctor for which you have been presented at this commencement of the School of Law. To those who have today been presented for degrees, I extend the congratulations of the faculty, trustees, and officers of the administration. I ask you to discharge the responsibilities of your new status and to enlarge upon the foundation of knowledge which you have acquired. Congratulations. Graduates, please be seated.
It is now my honor to present the Perry Zirkle 76 Distinguished Teaching Award. Thanks to Dr. Zirkle's generosity, this is the 10th year we have given an endowed award for a transformative teacher of law. You, our graduating students, voted to identify the teacher who enables you to master complex ideas, inspires and makes the classroom come alive, engages with all students and is prepared and organized, and is a nationally recognized scholar or leader in law reform. Voting from a slate of 5 outstanding educators, you selected Rachel Tim, Associate Clinical Professor of Law, as this year's recipient of the Perry Zirkle 76 Distinguished Teaching Award. Congratulations, Professor Tim.
Lois, Nnenna, Owunna of the class of 2025 will deliver remarks on behalf of the Master of Laws graduates.
Yukon, Yukon, Husky, Woo.
Standing before you today as a representative of the LLM students today is such an incredible honor. It's a dream I'm still pinching myself to believe. But here I am, trying to sound composed, while internally screaming with excitement. Distinguished faculty, honored guests, proud families, and my incredible fellow graduates, congratulations. Coming from Nigeria, where the sun blazes and the rain pours without warning, I have learned to live without consideration because we move, we grow, and we adapt. And in many ways, this applies to many of us here. I came from a place where the law isn't just in books, it's in the marketplace, it's in the home, it's in the voice of a mother telling her daughter, you can be more. I carry with me the fire of Lagos traffic and this calm strength of ancestral dreams. Years ago, when I came to New York for my mother's graduation, something in me shifted. The excitement of Times Square, the calm of Staten Island, it all left a lasting impression. But it was in Connecticut I found serenity. The people, the schools, the environment made me feel I belonged here. I'll be honest, law wasn't always the plan. Surrounded by a family full of medical professionals, I once seriously considered being a nurse. But it was my mother, the woman who had worked night shifts and knew the sacrifices of the medical profession, who looked me in the eye and said, stay in law. You have a voice meant for more. That moment stayed with me. I realized I didn't have to wear scrubs to care for people. I could use the law to advocate and to protect. And now, here we are, surrounded by a diverse and brilliant lawyers from so many countries. Bulgaria to China, Colombia to Costa Rica, Germany to Mexico, Moldova to Nigeria, Turkey, the UK, Venezuela, China, we're all here. We came from different places, speak different languages, and carry unique traditions. Some of us are the first in our families to earn a law degree, others to rise above limitations. But what we have in common is perseverance. We all persevered. Let's give ourselves a well-deserved round of applause. Most of us started this journey wide-eyed, hopeful, and a little clueless. But here's a spoiler alert. It was a lot of reading and nearly enough rest. Yet somehow, through assignments, struggles, and parenting for some of us, we made it. As the Latin maxim says, nemo da quod non habet, which translates to, you cannot give what you do not have. My friends, we have a lot to give. Not just legal knowledge, but resilience, compassion, and a drive for justice. As the scripture says in Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is expected. As we step forward, let's carry three things in mind: resilience, a passion for justice, and each other. Because what we have experienced has bonded us for life. We didn't let borders or accents divide us. We built bridges. JD students and alumni, thank you for helping us find our footing. And yes, we also mastered the art of repeating ourselves. Was it frustrating? Huh? But did we make it work? That's all that matters. We made it work. On behalf of my fellow graduates, our deepest gratitude to Dean Nelson. Thank you for making us feel seen and valued. To our brilliant professors, thank you for your knowledge. History will tell your story. To the graduate office, thank you so much for helping us feel supported and empowered. To Ms. Christine and the IT help desk where I worked, Thank you so much for making work feel like home. And to Deborah King, thank you for making this space so beautiful for us to be here. To our families and friends, your support carried us. Thank you so much. To my classmates, we did it! Law school was indeed hilarious and intense, but we showed up. Sometimes just getting through the day was a win. To my mother, your sacrifice lit the path to where I am today. I owe you the world. I love you. To my children, Onyinye Chukwu and Eze, Mommy made it! Thank you for the little corner to study at the strangest hours. To the class of 2025, go out there and make history. And remember, at the end of the day, you are what we have in common. Thank you and congratulations.
Yanhire Sierra-Lavalle of the class of 2025 will deliver remarks on behalf of the Juris Doctor graduates in the evening division.
Good morning. My name is Yanhire Sierra-Lavalle, and it is my pleasure to stand before you all today and speak for the evening class of 2025, or as I like to call them, the real law students of UConn. First and foremost, I'd like to take the time to thank the people whose support and love has gotten me this far. They say hard work can't be taught, but not everyone has an immigrant mother. Mom, your grit and perseverance has taught me that anything can be accomplished by pure willpower. Gracias por ser mi héroe. Thank you for being my hero. Dad, you believed in me 5 years ago when I said I wanted to go to law school. When I told you and Mom that I wanted to be a lawyer, it wasn't until Mom saw the LSAT prep guides in the Amazon cart that she said, "Wow, Yanni's going to law school." To which you replied, "Of course she is. It's Yanni." I have held that statement with me for 4 years, and I will continue to hold it throughout my career. Gracias por siempre creer en mí. Thank you for your unwavering belief in me. And finally, to my husband, the man who has read all my briefs, heard all my oral arguments, and proofread all my papers. You deserve an honorary degree. Thank you for being my biggest cheerleader. I take the time to thank all these people first, because without them and many others, I would not have been able to be a part of one of the smartest, most hardworking group of individuals I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. The evening class is a small yet diverse group. We have HR and healthcare professionals, paralegals, teachers, moms, and dads. On my first day in room 202, I felt intimidated and unprepared. I thought to myself, no way am I supposed to be here. These people are way too smart. You see, it's easy to feel like you don't belong in a room, especially when you're the only one in the room that looks like you. Per the ABA, Latinas continue to be underrepresented in the legal profession, only making up 6% of the lawyer population. It is even worse for Latinas, representing only 3%. To me, being in that room meant I was representing my community, my people. I could not fail. Over the years, I had the constant feeling that I did not belong. It was like a little noise in my ear that would not go away no matter what I accomplished. As a first-generation student, I've carried this noise with me basically my whole academic career. And although over time the noise dulls, it never truly goes away. Today, our country's leadership is trying to make that noise louder. They want to raise barriers we've already broken, set challenges we've already conquered, and return to old ways we've already moved past. We must not let them. We must not let anyone get in our way of what we aspire to be. But it's not easy to do this alone. So first, if you're not as lucky as me to have a support group that cheers for you like my family did, then find it. Look for mentors, colleagues, or friends. Look for people who will continue to uplift you. Look for the person that says, "Of course you did it. You're you." Second, don't forget to give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, and give yourself the credit you have earned. When you find yourself in the room with some of the smartest people you've ever met, remember you're in that room too. And most importantly, reflect and acknowledge. When you're out there being a first-year associate, a public defender, or a legal aid attorney, and you feel defeated because you have what you perceive to be the hardest task in front of you, look back at what you have accomplished. Look back at all you have already done. Look back at 3 to 4 years from now and remember your first day. Look back and remember this moment. You accomplished this. You did this. We did this. Congratulations to the class of 2025. Thank you.
Alex Davenport of the class of 2025 will deliver remarks on behalf of the Juris Doctor graduates in the Day Division.
Take a breath. That was always my dad's advice. When a moment required composure, whether I was stepping up to a free throw line or the front of a classroom, the advice was always the same. Take a breath. Graduates, I offer it to you now, not just because it's easy to memorize like the rare bright line rule, but because, like all good advice, it has aged well. Take a breath is a physical reminder to be entirely present in the moment we're in. It is the brief inhale that invites us to listen before we speak, a necessary act towards empathy and community building. It is the auspicious moment when silence and inaction are overborne by courage. Classmates, we have worked hard for this day. Hundreds of cases read, or at least skimmed. Countless briefs prepared, dozens upon dozens of hours dedicated to internships, article edits, pro bono service, and student organizations. The list goes on. Let us exhale and relish in this day, the first day many of us can call ourselves lawyers. For many of us, this day doesn't just recognize hard work we've performed. It manifests a dream. It is the fruits of sacrifice, ours and the generations that came before us. This day is an expression of purpose for some, born from sorrow or injustice. It is defying the odds. It is a commitment to our communities, and it is an expression of hope. But we didn't get here alone. So first, to the group that envelopes us with love and pride, to the parents and grandparents, the spouses, the partners, the mentors, the teachers, the best friends, the siblings, the folks that told us that we had a voice that matters, to our children, to my two children. Thank you. When all we could see was the work ahead, you reminded us just how far we've already come. In response to too few calls home and too few dishes done, you offered us grace. You have been our source of strength, and though we may be the ones donned in robes, this day also belongs to you. On behalf of our class, I also offer our thanks to the administration, to the staff, and to the faculty. Staff and administrators, thank you for devoting your many talents to creating opportunities for us. When we walked into events that facilitated professional opportunities or that created a sense of belonging, when we learned to navigate research that fed our curiosities, when we settled into workspaces that were impeccably clean, when you gently insisted that joy is a life force that belongs in the legal profession, your work allowed us to flourish. To the faculty, while our affection for you may be a little stretched during final exams, our appreciation for you does not wane. The late Bell Hooks tells us the heart of justice is truth-telling, seeing ourselves and the world the way it is rather than the way we want it to be. More than ever before, she wrote, we as a society need to renew a commitment to truth-telling. To the faculty who commit themselves to being truth-tellers, thank you. Through your work, you showed us that the law is the story of people and power. You developed our empathy for the communities our work will impact. You heightened our commitment to service. And you encouraged us to think critically about the powers the law creates and insulates, and about the responsibility of agents of the law that we bear to respond to power that acts without humanity or restraint. I said that today is an expression of hope. As we turn to the next chapter of our lives, I hope that we daily model commitments to empathy, service, community, and justice. I hope our lives are filled with love and joy. I hope we each know a career that embodies integrity and breathes courage. In a 1963 speech in Chicago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. offered, "Cowardice asked the question, is it safe? Expediency asked the question, is it politic? And vanity comes along and asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must do it because conscience says it is right." Graduates, when those moments of conscience find us, as in our present context they no doubt will, take a breath. For those moments, for this moment, you are ready. University of Connecticut School of Law, class of 2025, congratulations.
Thank you so much, graduates, for those excellent and inspiring remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Nnenna, a member of the class of 2011 and the president of the University of Connecticut Law School Alumni Association. Attorney Nnenna is General Counsel, Assistant State Comptroller at the Office of the State Comptroller. She has been an effective and energetic supporter of the law school through the Alumni Association and has generously taught our students as an adjunct professor. It is with gratitude for her service and leadership that I welcome her to provide remarks today. Attorney Nnenna.
Graduates, you did it. Give yourselves another round of applause. As president of the University of Connecticut School of Law Alumni Association, it is my absolute privilege and honor to welcome each and every one of you as the newest members of the Alumni Association. That's right. Now that you have graduated, you are now lifetime members of the association. And don't worry, no member dues. You are lifetime members. And what that means, importantly, is being part of a vibrant and deeply engaged community, one that is found all throughout the state, all throughout the country, and all throughout the world. And we are all here collectively to welcome you to the Alumni Association. And I'm also here to say that we see each and every one of you, we believe in each and every one of you, and you have the unwavering support of the alumni community. And so as we come to the conclusion of this ceremony, I want to share just a few brief words with you. One, please just take in this moment. What you've done to get here is extraordinary. The many trials and tribulations, the various ups and downs, the good, the bad, and everything in between, you have stuck it out, you have made it to the other side, and now is your time to shine. And I have to say, as I look out to the newest members of the legal profession, the future is looking exceptionally bright. Embrace this moment and take the time today to celebrate your incredible accomplishments and achievements with your loved ones, the friends, family, and loved ones who you know were a really important part of your journey, many of whom are here today. And resist the temptation to think about all the things you have to worry about tomorrow and the next day. Just embrace it and take it all in right now. And second, don't be a stranger. Stay connected to the law school and to the alumni community. Join alumni gatherings and events throughout the year, including our Hartford Alumni Gathering in just 3 days. Our new grads should have received that invitation. We hope to see you there. And above all else, know that alumni are here to support you, and we are rooting for you. Finally, a quick reminder for all new graduates that right after the ceremony, please join us in front of Chase Hall for a special graduates toast to lift a glass in your honor. And so again, on behalf of the Alumni Association, my sincerest and warmest congratulations to the University of Connecticut School of Law, class of 2025.
Thank you so much, Attorney Nnenna, for your leadership of the Alumni Association and for your steadfast support of our graduates and of our law school. We greatly appreciate it. Graduates, it is evident that you care deeply about your law school, and I hope that continues now that you have transitioned from being students to being alumni. Please stay involved and help support other students as they pursue their law degrees, as others have done for you. As I said during your orientation, you belonged at UConn Law, and UConn Law belongs to each of you. You are all an important part of the legacy of excellence of our wonderful law school, and all of us are incredibly proud of you and wish you much success and joy during your career. Congratulations, alumni.
The ceremony will conclude with the recessional of the platform party, the faculty, administrators, and law school graduates. Will members of the audience please remain in their seats until all graduates have recessed and the musicians have finished playing? And as Attorney Nnenna has mentioned, will the graduates please join members of the University of Connecticut Law School Alumni Association for a toast in front of Cheryl Chase Hall over that way. Thank you for joining us for this celebration. Please join me in thanking Deb King, our events and program manager, who organized this beautiful and complex commencement, and to all the staff who assisted her, particularly members of the facilities and communications staff. On behalf of the staff, faculty, trustees, and administration of the University of Connecticut and the School of Law, we offer all our graduating students our warmest congratulations. May the learning in which you have engaged here and the degree you have earned be springboards to a lifetime of professional success, public service, and personal fulfillment. And we wish you and all of your families and friends gathered here today to celebrate your achievement a wonderful afternoon.